Welcome to Failing Forward. This show is all about the other side of success. We talk to entrepreneurs, leaders, and innovators who aren't afraid to share the mistakes they've made. Because if there's one thing I know for sure, it's this. Every setback is just a setup for something bigger, if you're willing to learn from it. All right, welcome back to another episode of Failing Forward. I'm excited today. We've got a guest in the house, good friend, colleague, somebody that brightens our day up at HD Growth Partners. We've got Will Rauber. He is our CXO at HD Growth Partners, client experience officer. He is the man that is in charge of making sure that our people are happy, our clients are getting what they need, and just keeping an eye on things over the course of the year, and just making sure that their experience is what we want it to be. So we decided to kind of take a little pivot with today's episode and have a little fun, get you introduced to Will, who we affectionately refer to in the office as Uncle Baby Billy. Will and I are gonna be co-hosting for the next couple of episodes. We've got some really great guests coming on with us. But before we get into our topic today, I want to talk a little bit about Will. We want to get into the origin story of Will. Every good superhero has an origin story, right? So, Will, tell us a little bit about you. Where'd you grow up? Where'd you go to school? How'd you end up becoming an accountant, as cool as that career is? So give us a scoop.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm obviously excited. I think you're setting the bar pretty high with the superhero talk. I don't think that's all that necessary, right? But I'm originally from Sharon, Pennsylvania. My parents still live over that way. I moved to Hubbard when I was in first grade. So went through my entire high school career through Hubbard. Went on to YSU right after that. So
go Gwins.
Yes, right. Go Gwins, of course. Like a lot of our people here at HD. From a young age, there was always something about numbers that I enjoyed, something that I excelled at. And
did you mean to do that just now? The excel pun? Did that just happen naturally?
Yes, yeah. So you're obviously a little nervous doing this for the first time, and all of the puns are not intentional. I'm definitely not that guy at the office, right? But yeah, I'll take what I can get, I think, at this point. So yeah, the numbers just always spoke to me. I always enjoyed it. I remember I had an accounting class, and my sister was 1 year younger than me, a little over a year. So we had one class together in high school, and it was accounting, right? And it's always a funny thing. She gets so mad when I tell this story, but I wouldn't do anything. I was not a great student, I would say, in high school. That changed in college when I had to start paying for myself, right? So,
I feel that.
But my sister and I were in the same class. She sat right in front of me. I probably drove her insane being a junior or senior at the time. And I just did it. I went into class, didn't do any homework, took the tests, always got an A. And she struggled with that world. And it's not what she excels at, but she still gives me a hard time till this day about that. So I just knew there was something there. It's my people, right? I think I get along with most people, right? We always have a good time, but yeah, definitely it was something. And then I got into college at YSU, and I worked my way through at the same. I was the bookkeeper and dispatcher at Mr. Reuter Plumbing.
That's right.
In Austintown.
Shout out to our boy Joe Kajowski.
Oh,
he is number one in the number two business. My favorite.
The marketing is off the charts
piece.
for him for sure. So yeah, I mean, I started there. I went through, finished up at YSU in 2006. Then I went to a local firm that a lot of us were at. Spent 3 tax seasons there, moved into the private world and the trucking industry, and then obviously got to meet you and the fine folks here at HD, and the rest is history, right? I guess you would say. Yeah, I mean, it's been a wild road. I never thought I'd be back in public accounting. It wasn't necessarily the right fit for me initially, but I always tell people you never know where you're going to end up. I treat everybody like I could work for them one day, or they could be my best friend tomorrow. I mean, I know a golden retriever energy people accuse me of having, but it really is true. I think life is brighter when you act that way, I think.
Yeah. And like, you have a choice. And we've talked about that a lot. Like,
yeah,
when you get out of bed every morning, you have a choice as to how you're going to view the day. You know, you could get out of bed and you can view the day as, you know, the world's going to beat me up today, and woe is me, and this didn't go right, and that didn't go right. And you can always find some excuse to be sad about something. Or, you know, you could choose to go the Will Rauber path and be the, you know, golden retriever of our team, and like just find the good, find the kindness, find the positive in the moment. And it's just, to me, it's infectious. I mean, when we're hanging out, when we're meeting with clients, when we're talking to people about a very serious thing, which is their finances, it's nice to know that, like, you know, there's just a little bit of levity in that situation. And like, there's people that care, and they're going to try to explain things to you in a real world way. And they're not going to talk over your head. And we're going to talk to people like they're real people. You know?
Absolutely.
So
sometimes you do get your ass kicked, though, and you know what? It does make it easier with a smile, and maybe people lighten up a little bit at some point when you keep coming back with the same attitude. I think it does a lot of good. It is infectious, even to those negative situations that do happen sometimes.
Some people just don't know how to handle it.
Yeah, I think it freaks people out for sure.
Like it's one of those things that, you know, I teach my kids this too, is like, you know, be kind, choose kindness, like just kill them with kindness over and over again. Like, people just aren't typically certain how to deal with that.
Yeah.
You know, they're used to, you know, trying to make a situation combative or confrontational or whatever. And then, you know, guys like you and I walk in the room, and you're not going to get us all riled up.
No,
you know, it's just accounting, it's just finances, whatever it is, you know, we just try to make it just a common ground where we
not a surgeon, that's for sure.
Right.
Yeah, it's not a brain surgery situation where if something does get messed up, hey, that's why we're there. We get to fix it. We'll figure it out and move along from there. So that's a relief. I don't think I could be I mean, mentally, maybe capable.
I don't have the steadiest of hands. You know, like, I was not good at the game operation. I was always buzzing the sides.
Yeah, that's a lot of stress. It's a different level of stress to have people relying on you for their livelihood, and it's versus their actual life, right?
Yeah, right.
So I'm happy to report back of that, right?
So, I mean, this is a really good kind of segue about what we are going to talk about today. So, you know, we were hanging out the other night, and you know, we were watching Happy Gilmore 2. And for those that don't know, I'm a big fan of the Sandman. You know, I've always been a fan of Adam Sandler, and I realized over, you know, kind of trying to plan for this and think about what we were going to talk about today, about like how much Adam Sandler and his movies have shaped who I am today, and so many of us in our generation. I think, right?
I mean, you and I feel like we bonded over that, or the entire filmography of Adam Sandler multiple times in the first couple of times that we met.
Yep.
And it's like it's a comfort level that you get with someone who understands, and if you're into that, you're going to get along with me for sure. We're going to have a great time together.
Because it's like, you know, I thought about the parts of the movies and the things that, you know, really kind of shaped who I am and who we are, I think, as a generation to some degree. And it's like there's some really basic lessons that are present in all of his movies. And it seems silly to like draw this conclusion and say, okay, well, Adam Sandler, and there's a whole group of people that feel that his movies are horrible. But like from my perspective, there are some really basic concepts in here that I think are important for us to like call out, you know, and like one of them, you know, number one is, you know, how important family and relationships are, you know, and we watched Big Daddy with my kids the other day, and, you know, like you go through this forced growing up period when you become a parent. Mm-hmm. And it changes, you know, your perspective on the world, and it changes your perspective on life. And you watched, you know, in Big Daddy, Adam Sandler is, you know, this single guy. He's got no responsibilities. He won a settlement in a lawsuit, and he's a toll booth collector. And his roommate, his best friend, goes off to China, and this kid shows up at his doorstep. And the kid is his roommate and friend's biological child, and Adam Sandler ends up just like hanging out with him, mm-hmm. right? And the kid is doing all kinds of goofy stuff, right? And he calls him Frankenstein and lets him dress however he wants, and he's, you know, spitting in the park and throwing sticks underneath people while they're rollerblading around, you know. But like the concept behind that is so simple, is that like, things happen fast and your life changes quickly. And one day you could be, you know, this guy that has no future and has no purpose and has, you know, is working at a toll booth, and his girlfriend's leaving him for the old man, you know.
He has a 5-year plan.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. What is it? Yeah, don't die. And so like, you know, the idea here is just, you know, enjoy that time. And like, he realized that there was so much more to life than what he was doing. Yeah. Right. And like, it's just those kind of simple messages exist in every single one of his movies. You know, Big Daddy is one of my favorites, you know, but then like you get into, I think the core of who the Sandman is be yourself.
Yeah.
Like, even if it's weird.
That was my first comment on my notes that I took, is, you know, in the Happy Gilmore piece of the puzzle is, you know, he failed at hockey, right? There's a couple things he couldn't do, like skate or handle the puck, all right, some important things. And then he pivoted into the golf world, and he still was true to himself too.
Right.
He wore the hockey jersey. He had the special putter, and, you know, the people that he surrounded himself with in there are the people are great influences, you know, like Chubbs and his grandma, and
that's right,
you know, his girlfriend. So it's like, it's the family you choose. We talk about this all the time in the office too, is, you know, I spend a lot of time with these people, right? Mm-hmm. You better like them. You better like most of them at least, or else it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
Surround yourself with good people who are going to support you. That's probably the number one lesson I've learned over the last, you know, 20 years of being semi-adult.
Semi-adult. Yeah. That's a fair statement.
Yeah. So that definitely is that theme sticks with me all the time.
Yep.
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, you go back to somebody like Chubbs, right? Like Chubbs taught him the lesson in Happy Gilmore is to find your happy place. Mm-hmm. Right. And I think there's a lot that can be taken out of that for business, for life, for being a friend, being a parent, being a leader in your community, is that, you know, a lot of us have a tendency to react emotionally to things, right? And that's the maturity thing that happens eventually in business, is that you realize that you can't react emotionally to problems. It doesn't end well, ever, right? Sometimes Bob Barker beats the crap out of you. You know what I mean? And that was the lesson, is like, all right, man, you know, you got to control yourself. You got to find your happy place. You got to be calm. You got to handle this with, you know, logic and think about what's going on. And you can't just go off the handle.
Yeah, you can't
start freaking out.
You know, a childhood
a legend.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's one of those lessons. But the other cool story from that too is that you can come back from it.
Right.
This is all about failing forward. You're going to make mistakes. I don't think maybe not punch someone in the face mistakes. But you do have an opportunity to mend those fences and take care of people and learn from even a flip out like that, right?
And they're all like, in Hollywood, in movies, in entertainment period, like everything is over exaggerated, right? But like it's over exaggerating a valid point is that, don't blow up.
No.
Stay chill, be reasonable. People are still people. Like if you do that, you'll be fine. And that was kind of really the moral of the story at the end of the movie was, we went through all this stuff and he's trying to save grandma's house from the IRS and
the evil IRS.
The evil IRS. You can't take her house. Look at her. She's old. And so, but at the end of the day, like he finds a way to like be centered and surround himself with people that care about him, surround himself with the right people, not listen to the noise, not listen to the guy yelling jackass, and just like stay zeroed in on what you're here to do and go get it. Right. So like, Happy Gilmore is certainly one that is undoubtedly one of the most iconic. And I heard something the other day that like, if you want to be average, try to fit in. The people that are doing special things in the world are not average.
No.
They're weird. I mean, the people that change the world that we live in on a micro scale, on a macro scale, aren't the people that we look at and say, oh yeah, they're, they fit in with everybody else.
Yeah.
There is not a group of people that Elon Musk fits in with.
Not that I'm aware of.
I mean, not on this planet, at least, maybe. Like, he's a bit of an alien, but like, this is a guy that has literally changed the world that we live in. And like, you can come back to all these stories and say, this is the story that Adam Sandler is telling. And it's funny, like as he matures and as he has kids throughout his filmography, like, you see those messages being more and more prevalent throughout.
Absolutely.
But like I look at it now as a father and to my kids, and like this one in particular is like, I don't necessarily want to encourage my kids to necessarily fit in.
Normal's not always good. It's not always the best route, right?
Stand out, be different, embrace being different. It's okay to be different. Like there's nothing wrong with that.
And be obsessed and be, and that was the thing and that was back to the Happy Gilmore is he had something driving him so hard and was to save grandma's house.
Yeah.
That was the only thing that mattered to him at the time, right? He didn't. It was very much focused on getting better and figuring it out and maybe tweaking some of those things he wasn't necessarily good at to make this work, right? There's a whole theory on focusing on your strengths, but we all know in the golf world, especially, you drive for show, putt for dough. You got to make some putts, or else it's never going to work, right? But you have to be obsessed with making yourself a well-rounded human, a well-rounded accountant, a advisor, whatever you decide to do, and you're going to find your own way. It's not, my way is not the same way as yours for sure, and not anyone that I know. And it's embracing that mentality of, hey, this is my life. I'm going to do it. I'm going to wake up today and be great. And I know there's certain things I have to get done every single day to do that. Right. And they're not always fun, but you lay down at the end of the night and you say, wow, that was worth it. Hey, I figured something out. I did something different. I made somebody's life better. Doesn't get much better than that.
But that, Will, is something that has always fascinated me about you and the time that we've spent together and become friends and work together. Is like, you have that choice to make that perspective and to choose that to be your perspective at the end of the day.
Yeah,
you could get to the end of the day and look back on everything that's happened and say, this went wrong, that went wrong, that went wrong. Today was a failure. Or you could look at today and say, this went right, this went right, this went right.
You have to find the good.
Yeah.
You have to find it. It's there somewhere. Yeah. It's easier to wake up in the morning when you know that you're going to think of it, you're going to reflect on it. Actually, there's an app I just downloaded. I can't remember what it's called, but it prompts you throughout the day about how you're feeling. And just to give you a weekly target. Hey, what happened today that made you feel good or irritated or whatever that is? And it tracks your trends. And you have some medium days in there, but you can start to analyze it with data over time. And I'm a data nerd in general. Maybe I'm not great at creating it, but I can see the trends and you can see these really cool things. And it's the same with personality for me. It's like, what in my life is causing me a little bit of extra stress, and how can I fix that to make it good every day? And that's the only goal, right? Let's have a good day. Let's have some fun today.
And the danger I think that our society has, and I think that more and more people are getting in tune to this, is that, you know, they go through a day, they have a bad day, they have a rough day at work, and then they're scrolling through Instagram and they see, you know, somebody went on vacation or somebody's depiction of what their perfect life, so to speak, is, and like it sends them off the rails, right? Because they say, well, I had a bad day, and all I see is this dude posting about going on vacation and all these fancy dinners and this, that, or the other. So, like, my advice to people, you know, especially, you know, that work for us, that come into our organization, you know, or our clients' kids and things like that, is like, make a choice. Like, either turn off the social media, turn off the Instagram and the TikTok and the Facebook and this, that, or the other, or like use it as a power and like trick the algorithm into giving you good stuff. Because if you like the bad stuff and you watch the bad stuff and you get sucked into all the negative, then it's just going to give you more.
That's
of that,
what you get.
right?
Yeah. I love that theory. What is it? What's the saying? It's a comparison is the thief of joy.
That's right.
Right. And I don't know. I think about it. I've heard of that. But for me, it's, I want to see people be successful. I want to root for people. I love to hear about somebody that just got back from Italy, right? Because I know, like, hey, I'm also gonna learn from them. I'm gonna know what to do, what not to do. Right. I'm going to do that someday. But I'm so overwhelmingly happy for them that they have this opportunity that not everyone has every day. But I think about that a lot. It's like, you get a choice too. You get to decide, are you happy for that person? Are you rooting for them? You want to surround yourself with people you can root for all the time, right?
Yeah.
And that's why it's been a great 4 years. I can't believe, you know, it's a snap your fingers situation. 4 years seems like a crazy long time, but it went by pretty quick for us.
Well, and so, you know, kind of going through, you know, my version of some of my favorites of the Sandman, like, one of the things that I think that, you know, we show on a regular basis, and the reason that, you know, we've gotten along well and our team gets along well, is like one of those fundamental beliefs that's come from some of these movies. Mr. Deeds, like,
very sneaky.
Mr. Deeds is one of my absolute favorites. You know, a small town dude ends up finding this long lost uncle, or whatever it was, a dad that he didn't know about, I guess is more technically correct. And, you know, gets all this money. And, like, how does it change him? What does he do with it? You know, and ultimately in Mr. Deeds, like, I think if you look back, this is probably about the time where, you know, Sandler's starting to have kids and starting to grow up and starting to settle down. Because some of the tone of the movies really starts to change from, like, being this, you know, bad boy, hard ass, you know, whatever,
more slapstick
to like,
right?
Yeah. So, like, the whole theory behind Mr. Deeds is just like, be kind, and like, kindness ultimately pays off in the end, right? And the same kind of theory holds true in a weird way with Billy Madison too, right? Is that, you know, he's got to go back to school, he's got to learn, you know, all these things, he's got to learn how to navigate through this journey, but like, he stays true through all of that, is that he's kind. And even to, you know, Miss Libby, whose favorite color, his car is green and likes to drink soda.
Well, I mean, some of the deep cuts too, when you think about it. I don't know when the last time it was when you watched Little Nicky, but I mean, he's a demon, right?
Yeah.
But he's a nice demon. He's the best one, right? Like, and that always makes me laugh in hindsight. When I first saw that, I was like, man, I don't know. He's slipping. This isn't what I remember.
Yeah.
But now I watch it and I'm like, I have a ton of respect for that. But movie
there was still weirdly enough, as like, and I'll give you this one, like, Little Nicky was not a great, like, film, okay, but still, it still goes through and teaches these core values of being good, even though he was literally the son of Satan.
Yeah.
You know, he was nice and he was kind, and he said, well, we could maybe do this another way, you know, and quirky. And, you know, I think my favorite, like, little joke in that one was he's little Nicky's sitting on the bench and he's talking to somebody and they ask him, they say, where are you from? And he says, I'm from the South, the deep South. And then he like giggles about it. And like, there's a lot of funny moments in that movie, but like still the moral of the story comes back to like, you can be a good person, you can be kind, even if you're the son of Satan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. I wrote this one down too. My favorite, that this is every Sandler film. It's the jerk always loses in the end.
That's right.
And that's what I love, where
Yep.
there's, Shooter McGavin or
Yep.
some of his brothers and Little Nicky, or
Yep.
and you could go down the list of that, and that maybe that's why I've always loved all of them,
Yep.
no matter how bad they actually were at the time.
Yeah, the bad guy always, either whether they lose in the end or they get, they run off a cliff because they're throwing the banana outside of the school bus.
Doyle's go down.
Treat for the road. All the old Doyles go down. Like, if you really take a step back and look at this, and I had fun like going through this journey of looking at each one of those movies, and that was the same every time. Was like the bad guy, the jerk, the whatever. At the end of the day, they lose, they get humiliated, whatever. It's just a lesson of like, quite simply, don't be a jerk.
That's it.
Just be a decent human being, and things are okay.
It's
and
life a lot
work out.
better. Yeah, 100% of the time.
On a more like serious note, you get into then some of the other films. Like he's got some ones that went way off the realm, like Punch Drunk Love. But like,
that's one of my favorites. My wife, I thought about that when I was talking to her, right, and she does not like it, right? Yeah. She gives me a very hard time because I still have the DVD, and I may be one of the only people right now still at my age that early 40s that have a DVD player. I talk to the younger staff at our office. I'm like, I'll bring the DVD in for you for sure. You can watch it. They're like, I can't play that. Yeah. I don't actually have.
Might as well bring in a VHS.
It's like me with the VHS. Yeah, like I remember. I'm like, oh man, you feel a little bit old sometimes, even though we're not. But it is, that's something that's important to me, is like to pass that along to the next generation. I think it's so cool that you watch that with the kids, right? And you can explain to them what's going on in some of the more PG ones. Yeah, at least the Big Daddy of them.
I realized
there's a couple spots in there.
About 20 minutes into my kids watching Big Daddy with me, like my wife and I would just look at each other from across the room and we're like, ooh, maybe this was a little bit early for this one, but we can still teach some valuable lessons here.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
I mean, 50 First Dates, another one of my favorites. The story of like, you and I share a common trait in that, we've got our high school sweethearts. We've been together with our wives for a really long time. And like, you think about like how fast that could change. Mm-hmm. Right. And, in that story, it's like, he meets Drew Barrymore and then comes to find out that, she, has short-term memory loss, and he has to like get her to fall in love with him every single time, every single day, over and over and over again. And like that lesson in and of itself, like if more people treated their relationship with their spouse that way, like I'm going to wake up today and I'm going to make sure that my wife falls in love with me again.
Every single day.
Every single day. Yeah. Like, I mean, what better of a like true love story is that than that?
Absolutely. It's funny. We're gonna have our 19-year anniversary in a couple of months, and I for some reason it's been popping into my head a lot lately. Like, hey, we're both busy. Everybody's busy, but what are the small things that you can do to make sure that she knows I'm thinking about her, or even any other family member too, right? And people that are important to you. I think it's important to remember that, and it's not always grand gestures by any means. It's the little things. It's just text people and make sure that they know you're thinking of them, even if you don't always have the time to spend with them. That's a big topic for us. When you get busy and you go through the path of life, and I don't know everything by any means, but I definitely think about. My aunt was in from Colorado this weekend, and I had plans Monday night. She was only in for a couple of days, and I canceled my plans. Like I gotta see my aunt. She's here. Just a random thinking of you goes a long way in my world, especially. Just it makes you, especially if you get it at 7 a.m, you wake up to it and you're like, oh, I haven't seen this, but I haven't really had an opportunity to connect. But I know they're still thinking of me, and I know how long that goes for other people too. So it's an awesome lesson.
Yeah, I mean, and it's just it's over and over and over again in these movies. You know, we had this conversation the other night, and you know, it really got me thinking, like, deep down the path of all of the lessons that have, you know, shaped who I am today. I mean, you know, going back to Billy Madison, you know, like he's in that same point where, all right, Mr. Deeds or Big Daddy and Billy Madison similar. Is like, all right, well, he's this kind of screw off, right? He's just sitting around the backyard chasing the penguin around. It's too damn hot for a penguin to be walking around here. And, you know, he meets the jerk, right? And the jerk's going to take over the dad's company, and
Eric,
he's got to
and
go
his
back
weasel
to school.
laugh.
Eric.
Yes. Yeah. Can't have that happening, right?
You know, and the whole kind of, you know, theory behind the movie is like, don't stop growing, right? Is that you can evolve, you can be better than who you were yesterday, and like, as long as you find something that drives you and pushes you to get through it. And ultimately, like, what was driving him to get better at Billy Madison? Like, it was proving that he could do it, right? At the beginning, that was it. Like, and he wasn't taking it as seriously at the beginning, right? Because all he's doing at that point is just trying to prove his dad wrong.
Yeah, you're
right?
learning first grade stuff too, right?
Right. Yeah. And I colored the duck blue because I've never seen a blue duck, you know? And like, but then that moment happens, right? Where Eric is not believing in him and is trying to railroad him, and like, there's someone that's actively saying, you can't do this, right?
What a better motivator, right? I think you and I definitely have that in common too.
Yeah.
Anybody who ever thinks that I can't do it, that's the number one. Yeah, I'm going to prove somebody wrong, period. All the time.
That is my favorite motivational thought, is when someone tells me that I can't do something.
Oh, yeah. It's and I don't know why it's a negative thought that drives you forward into some positive world here, but and it's never, and the other piece of that too is it's never too late to start. I think about when, okay, you can be 50 years old, you can start a new career. I mean, some of the greatest people, and some of the examples escape me right now, but they're starting businesses at age 50 that have become these monstrosities. Or how many times did
well, Warren Buffett didn't build
Microsoft.
any, you know, wealth of magnitude until after he was like 60.
Yeah, I mean,
You know.
it's crazy to think about.
You can keep growing at any age. you know?
Don't feel bad for yourself ever. Like, you know, yesterday is always the best day to start, but the next best day is now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Right. Yeah.
keep it going.
Yeah, so I'm going through kind of my list of movies here and thoughts that I had, and like, obviously, I mean, we can't talk about The Sandman and not at least touch on Waterboy.
Oh yeah.
You know, Bobby Boucher.
Sure.
And like, an iconic film. Again, like, I'm sure that there are the Rotten Tomatoes crew out there that's like, really, we're talking about Adam Sandler movies right now? But like, seriously, you know, in The Waterboy, yeah, the lesson that you pull from this is quite simple. It's like, don't judge a book by its cover, right? Don't judge too quickly. And I think, again, like, in a lot of Sandler's movies, that's what he's hammering home with people, is like, if you're one of those people that automatically judges people, you're probably the jerk, right? And we know what happens to the jerk in all of his movies.
Always lose.
You know, but like in Waterboy, you know, he ends up finding a way to overcome all of these obstacles. He's this guy from the bayou that you know, maybe doesn't learn like everybody else and doesn't talk like everybody else, but he pushes through it, and all of a sudden, like, he's the hero in the movie.
It's got Forrest Gump overtones to it, right? I mean, it's kind of a copy at the end of the day.
To some degree. Yeah.
But yeah, who is it? Kathy Bates is his mom in that
Yes.
movie. Like,
Yes.
think about, okay, she's a different level of an actress, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, they talked her into it, and Henry Winkler, and you go down the list of pretty great people that do show up in his films, and I think everyone gets it too. It's not. I don't think they're paying all that well at times back in the days, but the story is there, and it's inspiring and funny at the same time. I don't think there's much better than that.
Yeah, and I think over and over again, it's like take that time to try to understand people before you judge them. You know, and I think that that's something that has become a core of who I am in just my day-to-day life is like people got their own stuff going on.
Yeah.
You know, like if you meet somebody and you're driving down the street and they cut you off and they flip you off and they're MFing you along the way, like maybe they got some real shit going on.
Yeah, it's probably worse for them today than it is for
like
me.
just maybe like I'm not gonna cast too much judgment on them. I'm not gonna chase them down with my gun. You know, like maybe they found out some bad news this morning.
Give people the benefit of the doubt,
Yeah.
right? When you show up, and the other side of it too, is like you want to surround yourself with people who are complementary. If you only surround yourself with people that are like you or have the same thoughts, you're not going to get better. You're not going to be a well-rounded human. You're going to be the same as all of those other people. And what differentiates you at that point?
Yeah. So I mean, trying to fit in and trying to just be average, again, like you're gonna be average. You know, so surround yourself with people that are different and surround yourself with people that are passionate about what they're talking about. They may not necessarily fit into every crowd, but like they're real and they believe in something and it's not fake. And like that's sometimes the worst thing that you have to deal with in business and the professional environment is like when you have to deal with people that just aren't authentic.
Yes. Yeah. And it's hard because the authentic people, I think, can see through that most often. And it's hard to give it your all at times when you know that is the person that's sitting across from you.
Yeah.
So you would just want to get through it.
Right. Yeah. Right.
And then nothing really good comes from rushing through, especially in our world and anything accounting related. You know, take your time, do it right, have some cooperation, work with each other, and understand what the goals are. If it's, I know this person across from me is just lying to me at every turn, motivation is going to be pretty low at the end of the day, and I'm not going to want to go the extra mile or do the extra that I know needs to be done or that I want to do for people.
I mean, that's how you create something of magnitude is that, you know, you're real, you're authentic. People can know who you are because when you're fake, even if you're trying to fake for the right reasons, people see through that. And then naturally our brains go to a darker place and they're like, well, they're faking for this reason that's bad. Like they might be faking because they think that this is good. But like in reality, the simplest way to go about it is to just be real, be authentic. Don't judge people too quickly. You know, give people some time to get comfortable with them, get to know them, get to know what's going on in their world.
Yeah.
Right.
No, like trust, right? That's the mentality that you've taught me. And it's not complicated, right? But it sticks with you, right? Yeah. This is the goal. I want to know people. I want to like them. I want to trust them.
Yep.
It is a process though, for sure. So let me flip the script on you a little bit here and ask you. You got to pick one single character from any of the Sandler films. Who is your number one favorite character? And it doesn't have to be Sandler, right? You could be any of the characters out there.
So I mean, I think that almost always like the Sandman to me is always my favorite in every single movie. Like I personally though, like I think that my favorite, I don't know that it's necessarily my favorite Adam Sandler movie, but my favorite character and or depiction of someone in his movies is Mr. Deeds.
Yeah.
Like to me, that kind of really aligns with who I am as a human being. Is like, I don't really care how much money you got. I deal with people that have a lot of money.
Sure.
And I work with people that have a lot of money. And they don't want to be seen as someone that has a lot of money. They're just regular people, and they have problems and they have fears and they have goals just like everyone else. So like just seeing beyond the superficial stuff that we normally pay attention to, like, that to me has always resounded with me and has stuck with me and is like weaved into who I am, I think, as a person. Like Mr. Deeds for me is one of my favorites, but like just who he is in Mr. Deeds, and like, he's talking to the guy that ultimately ends up taking over at the end, and they're talking about trying to make Frosties at home. They land the helicopter in, they go and they get their Frosties, and he comes in and he's like, I tried to make it at home, but it's just not the same, And like they just landed a helicopter in the Wendy's parking lot, and they're, just, two regular dudes enjoying a Frosty together, So I think that to me is one that always has resounded well. I mean,
well, what's the line too? There's something about like, wealth is silent and money, money is loud. And people who have true wealth are often the people that are driving an older car, that aren't overspending on a house. They live well within their means. And then you have sometimes the other side that's, hey, I'm going to go lease a very expensive car and I want people to think this about me. And that's there are a lot of those. I see that a lot, right?
I mean, this is kind of the part that, like, my job, our jobs, when we're talking with our clients, we're talking with people, like, there's a fine line of being an accountant, being a financial advisor, being a steward of someone's capital, but like also to some degree, like being a therapist, right? Like you got to have this conversation with people sometimes where you say, like, why are you spending this money? What hole are you trying to fill? Why are you sad? What is making you, what's the core of this problem that's making you sad, that you're ultimately trying to just jam $100 bills into this hole? Because that creates the rat race. Like they South Park, also an iconic.
Just got back into
series.
it recently.
I just watched one of the most recent episodes the other day. And they're talking about how it's like, okay, we brought back the banker from the stock days where he's like, and it's gone. And it's the same banker, and he's talking about, you make more money, your nut goes up. It's just a way that it works. And you make more money and you're still sad, you're making more money, but now you're just spending more money trying to chase that happiness that exists. So, that's what most people do in this country, is that regardless of how much you have, it's never enough because you're not addressing like the root cause of the problem. The root cause of your unhappiness isn't going to be fixed with money. Money doesn't buy happiness. It does buy jet skis, which I've never seen a person riding a jet ski that wasn't happy, but like still.
There's that old adage too, and like some science behind it, where after, and this is an old number, so with inflation, maybe it's 120,000, but after you hit $120,000 and you kind of hit your hierarchy of needs is covered to an extent, that next dollar brings you less happiness.
Correct.
Right. And then the next 10, the next 100, and you can see it. And I personally, we love to focus on doing things and consumable. We don't like stuff, right?
Yeah, right.
Stuff is a thing. Some people do, and that's okay. I think about the 4-hour work week, right? Is that what the book was? And they talk about you can absolutely afford a Porsche. You can afford a $2,000 a month lease on a car, if that's what you want.
Sure.
You have to make the sacrifice. You have to do these things. So what's important to you? And is that really what you want? It obviously isn't a need necessarily, but there's so many, go on vacation, spend time with your family, drink some good wine. I mean, there's a lot of positives there that, you obviously can't do without any money. But once you have those needs met, then go enjoy yourself. Right.
I was lucky enough to have a really good mentor, and Harold is going to join us on the pod here in a couple
about
weeks.
This.
I'm pumped about it. But like, there were so many Haroldisms that helped me become a better person and a better professional along the way. And one of those was, anytime you want to make a big decision, you got to sit down and you got to come up with 5 reasons. If you can't come up with 5 reasons, then it's not the right decision, right? So I think about that in the context of like the Porsche, right? Somebody wants to go buy a Porsche and they say, okay, well, I love cars. And this car reminds me of the memories I made with my dad growing up because he also loved cars. And I need to get somewhere really fast, and whatever those things ultimately are, because see, I can't get to 5, I can't buy a Porsche. But like, that's what you need to do is if you can sit down with yourself and look at yourself in the mirror and come up with those 5 reasons to do that, then it means something to you. And it's not just like a dopamine chase, and it's not you trying to fill some void of other unhappiness that exists in your life. Like, come up with the 5 reasons. If that's what you're passionate about, do it.
Yeah.
Like, he's got me always counting on one hand when I'm thinking about things.
I mean,
like,
it's good. It's only
I can't do it with 2. Just the one hand is good. And the other thing that he always taught me was like, because when I was coming up in the firm and I was learning from him, I'd never really made any money of any magnitude, right? I mean, I was washing semi trucks. I was putting myself through school. Even when I started at the firm, I started making $8 an hour. And like, he would tell me, he's like, Timmy, you're gonna make a good living. And like, I didn't believe him. Like, I thought he was just, trying to get me to drink the Kool-Aid, right? And just get me to stick around and help him out and whatever. But like, he saw something in me and told me that. And he said that the best advice that I can give to you is don't try to do it all. Like, we would sit down with clients, we'd sit down with people, and they'd come to us to help them with their problems. And then we'd sit down and we'd talk through it afterwards. And he'd say, see, Timmy, this is what I'm talking about, is that this person's trying to do it all. They got 2 brand new cars. They got a couple of vacation houses. They got all the timeshares. They got all of this, that, or the other. Like, they're doing the travel. They're doing the nice cars. They're doing the big house. They're doing all these other things. And like, they have to go to work every day.
Yeah.
Like, they don't have a choice. They have to go to work because they chose to do all of those things. Like, you could do one of those things. Right? You could buy the Porsche, you could buy the vacation house, you could, go on all the travel that you want and make all the memories that you want, or you could have a bunch of time with your family and like not really spend a lot of money, but just have a ton of time with them. And it's like, those were the conversations that really kind of shaped who I ultimately became, was because I had somebody that was teaching me those lessons. Was like, just pick one. Don't try to do them all.
That's why I love to hire business development people with 6 or more kids. They have to show up every day. They have to produce, and that's just that's the one thing I learned in my last job, and it was. There were just a bunch of guys with a bunch of kids on the
Somebody got to feed all
team.
them children.
It's all commission,
That's right.
So it has to be good, right?
And so, I mean, I think that the last and like final lesson that kind of like transcends all of the Sandman's films is that like, laugh through the chaos. Like, life can be difficult and messy and ugly and hard, but it can also be beautiful and wonderful and purposeful. But you have a choice, is that you can be mad, or you can kind of laugh through it. And like, that's Sandler's kind of mentality through all these movies, was like, he wasn't necessarily laughing through things in a way where he was disregarding the severity of the situation, as much as he was laughing through it and saying like, all right, like, whatever, we're going to figure it out. It's done. It is what it is. We'll just be nice to each other. Let's talk about it. Let's figure it out. Let's just make the world a better place if we can.
It's that sunk cost fallacy, right? You can't change yesterday. You can't change. You just put a big old down payment on something that you don't really love now. Hey, you got to work through it. You got to fix it. You got to figure out where to go from here, and you better have some fun doing it.
Yeah.
Right? What are the other options? You don't want to be miserable, and no one wants to be around you. You want to have a good time and get better every day. I think that's for me the lesson every single time. Let's get a little bit better every day.
Yep.
Let's have a little bit more fun and surround yourself with people you love, right?
Let's learn from the mistakes.
Absolutely.
Let's figure it out along the way. So yeah, I mean, today was intended to be, a little bit of a break from what we started off doing while we reset and we get kind of like our guest list in place for the next couple of weeks and months. And excited to have you by my side here. We've got some really great people that we've got lined up over the course of the coming weeks. Some people that are special in this community, some people that have done some things of real magnitude. So I'm excited for us to have some of these conversations. But I thought this was something unique for us to be able to talk about that gets to know both of us in a very real way as we have these new guests on and say, okay, well, there's some relatable thing about these two guys, and maybe it's just because of who Adam Sandler shaped these guys into who they are today.
Yeah, I'm interested to see. I don't think a lot of Adam Sandler talk is going to come up over the next couple of weeks, but you never know.
Well, we got it all in one podcast, so that way, we don't even have to sprinkle it in with all of our guests. We just get it all out of the way.
I promise it's going to happen, though, at some point. I'm sorry. Yeah. Thank you, though. I do appreciate it. I'm excited to help however I can, as always. It does mean a lot to be able to be here with you and interview some of the idols and icons of what we do in the accounting world in Youngstown and just the general area. It's going to be pretty fun, for sure.
We're going to have a good stretch of episodes coming up here. Thank you for listening today. This is it's always fun to be able to sit down and talk about things that we love and talk with people that we care about, and we're excited about what's to come, and stay tuned.
Thank you so much for listening. This podcast wouldn't be possible without Stonefruit Studios and Bentley Studios. If you'd like to support the podcast, the most impactful thing you can do is subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube, and leave a review and/or comment. If you found this episode particularly helpful, we also encourage you to share it with a friend or on social media. Until next time, keep learning, growing, and failing forward.